Yo, what is going on, guys? Membro here, back at it with another podcast. It is a brand new season of college football. I'm excited. I hope you guys are. Yeah, with this first official, I guess you could say new season for the podcast, new season for college football. Although, yeah, I think this is a new season, or I think I haven't done another episode since really off season and covering NFL and stuff, but. We have week 0 under our belts, and as of recording this is Friday, so we're about to go into, I'm hoping to get this out around either today, most likely tomorrow, which would be Saturday, and then I might do another podcast recapping Saturday, but this is kind of going to be recapping week 0 and then also Thursdays and Fridays games as we have going on right now. Let's get right into it, guys. So we had USC versus San Jose State. Looked a little shaky for USC at the start there, but they obviously pulled away, and Caleb Williams looked great. I mean, if he continues, I mean, you look at the landscape, like the field of Heisman contenders. Should there really be another favorite besides Caleb Williams? You got your Jordan Travis, you got like Blake Corum for running back for Michigan. You got a few guys here and there, but I think. If USC is putting up, they put up 56 points. Yes, it was on San Jose State, but if they consistently put up 40-point games with Caleb Williams, we can go to the stats. Let's go to the stats. Let's go to the stats here for Caleb Williams and company. Yeah, he had 278 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was really distributing the ball very well, getting the brand new, USC receivers involved. 50 drops 56 on them. They're playing this weekend as well. USC is. Let's check. I forget who they're playing. Yeah, they're playing Nevada. So yeah, I think they can get the W. Then they play Stanford. So they have. You look at it, they have a fairly easy schedule up until they play at Notre Dame and then versus Utah. So yeah, USC, I think, barring any slip-ups, you could see him still ranked number 6, still ranked pretty high. And speaking of Notre Dame, they went to Dublin, Ireland. It was really cool to see that game. So many fans. Notre Dame was basically at home, as they are appropriately called the Irish. A lot of Irish fans showed up. It was like a soccer rugby stadium. So insane looking crowd, and poor Navy just only 3 points. Couldn't even give them a touchdown. Notre Dame couldn't. And Notre Dame actually now has a very good quarterback. Sam Hartman is a very good quarterback. Stack that up with Notre Dame's run game. They're consistent, pretty good run game. They got a consistent, pretty good defense. I think it's always kind of been missing. They've always kind of been missing that quarterback. They went to the playoff with Ian Book. No disrespect, but they went to the playoff with Ian Book. Think about maybe they could be right up there, that you get a win against the USC. Let's go take a look at their schedule and see how things are shaping. They play Tennessee State. Looks like tomorrow, which is Saturday, which is this will probably be coming out on Saturday, by the way. NC State, Central Michigan, Ohio State. That will be huge. Yeah, they always have some of the toughest scheduling. I mean, if you think about it, if Notre Dame actually joined the ACC, and so like some other teams that just recently joined the ACC, which we'll get into later, Notre Dame actually joined the ACC, they'd actually have an easier schedule and an easier path to the college football playoff. You look at this, they play Ohio State, they play USC, they play Clemson, they're playing all over the place. You go join the ACC, you're most likely not playing Ohio State. And you can still schedule a USC, still schedule maybe a Stanford, which Stanford's in the ACC now. We just recently got news. We'll go over that. New angle here, new season, new angle. I guess we'll see how it works out, just so that I'm closer to the camera, I guess. And so that was week 0 technically that's all that there was in the top 25 games. So I guess let's go over the games. We have one top 25 game yesterday, which Thursday. Utah beats Florida. Obviously, Cam Rising is out in that game. There's a lot of concerns. This might be real shaky for Utah. They were even favored without Cam Rising, but he's their star quarterback. Bring in, pretty unexperienced guys. You've got a redshirt freshman in Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes, who only had one career start. And let me tell you, Kyle Winningham had some great play calling here. An example is the very first play of the season for the Utah offense. Draws up great play action pass all the way down the field. Caught Florida lacking. Very first play, it's a touchdown. And that was huge. That set the tone for the game, really. Gives your whole offense confidence by doing that. Gets Florida on shaky ground immediately. They're like, oh, shoot, we just gave up 7 points in one play. And so you already are giving yourself a lot of confidence, and then you can settle in with a lead instead of trying to settle in while you're maybe down 3 points or tied at 0 or whatever. Then you can settle in with a lead, and the defense was huge. Looking at Utah's defense, it was near perfect, honestly. They kept Mertz in the pocket most of the time, forcing him some bad throws. He was only passing to one receiver, which was part of the problem. Purcell, as you see, it's 8 receptions, 92 yards, pretty good. But the dual quarterback thing worked for the Utes. It really did. Bryson Barnes had more of that passing attack, and then Nate Johnson had more of that running attack. And Nate Johnson had shades of Lamar Jackson. Really, now Utah has 3 very playable quarterbacks. You got Bryson Barnes, kind of like a gunslinger, kind of. I think he'll definitely be. He's a junior, so he'll be set up to kind of take over Cam Rising's spot. Although Nate Johnson might have something to say about that, but Nate Johnson with the running attack, Cam Rising with the experience. Utah wasn't the greatest offensive performance, but the defense got it done. They only allowed that last touchdown. They kind of let them get to him. Was shaky there in that fourth quarter. A little kind of shaky fourth quarter, but overall very dominant. You look at through 3 quarters, they only let up 3 points. Got revenge from last year and really showed that they can play football. Because you've got a lot of people saying like, oh yeah, the Utes, they're all the way in the Pac-12. They play Florida, they lose last year, so are they really up for that big time football? They lost last 2 years in the Rose Bowl, but really they're showing that the Utes are a powerhouse, and I think they'll have even more exposure through the Big 12. Because this Big 12 is going to be basically covering the entire country. And there's going to be eyes on it. There's eyes on, for me, there's eyes on the Big 12 right now this season. All right, this is the big game, one of the bigger games. TCU and Colorado, very hyped up, obviously, because of Deion Sanders. TCU, because they just were in the championship game. Rivalry kind of renewed here. They're going to be playing each other more in the Big 12. Does Deion Sanders actually get the win for Colorado? Can TCU say, we're still here? I think TCU wins this game. It's at Fort Worth for TCU. We have no idea what Colorado is going to be like, but to me, there's a better chance that Colorado disappoints than exceeds expectations, just because expectations are so high seemingly, and there's so much press coverage and all this stuff, all this pressure for Colorado that, if it ends up being a blowout, I think it's more likely that TCU blows out Colorado than the other way around, if you know what I mean. It could definitely be a close game, but even with then, TCU's got the home field advantage, kind of like TCU. Another big game here is Tennessee and Virginia. Virginia could be kind of sneaky here, but, Tennessee, I think you could definitely look at them as kind of a sneaky SEC East, because yes, they were just the huge kind of surprise team until they ran into Georgia last year. But Hendon Hooker is gone. They got Milton though back. This could be a very interesting year to watch for Tennessee. I think that's a big game to watch. I think games to watch. We can go over like games to definitely watch. I'd probably be this one: Tennessee and Virginia, Colorado and TCU, obviously. Looking down the list, I mean Purdue, Fresno State. I guess if you're big fans of that, I just mean like big marquee matchups. We got Ohio State and Indiana starting conference play right away. I kind of like what the Big 12 or Big 10 is doing. Some of their games, with conference play. Also, another game was Minnesota and Nebraska. Minnesota with a walk-off field goal. That was pretty cool to see. Wild game. Very low scoring, but the few touchdowns that they had were pretty highlight worthy, I guess you could say. 13-10, very low scoring game. Kind of like like a typical grinded out Big Ten game with two, Minnesota, Nebraska. So that was pretty cool. I watched a little bit of that game. In between kind of the Utah and Florida game. Washington and Boise State. This will be interesting to see how good, Washington's coming in ranked number 10. Very high expectations for the Huskies, obviously, with Michael Penix. Interesting to see how they do in their week 1 game. Texas is ranked pretty high. They've got Rice. They'll probably beat them. Any other big games besides the one that I'm thinking of? I need to get into this. SEC, what is this? Georgia is playing UT Martin in week 1, let alone week 1. Like, Georgia should not be playing UT Martin. You are the defending champions, and you guys are going to start it off with UT Martin, FCS. Like, come on. Why? Like, let's go to their schedule, because it's making me sick. Then they got Ball State. Then they look this is a week. Look right here. I know how Georgia makes it to the playoff every year, because they have such a weak schedule. Look at this. They don't even play Alabama. They don't play LSU. And people still say the SEC is the toughest conference. No, definitely not on the East side. Georgia, yeah, they'll get it together versus Ole Miss and Tennessee. That's by the end of the year. Otherwise, they're cruising. They're cruising. It doesn't matter that they got a new quarterback. It doesn't matter that they lost a lot of guys. They still got a hell of a lot of talent. They still got Kirby Smart. They're cruising. They're going to cruise to the playoff, no big. And even if they end up undefeated, lose to, per se, Alabama or LSU or something like that, they're still getting in the playoff as like a 4 seed. They're not losing. We'll see how good. Again, we'll see how good Tennessee and Ole Miss are. Ole Miss is they could be a dark horse with Jackson Dart. But otherwise, I mean, Florida looked real shaky. We got to talk about Florida. I didn't really talk about them with Utah, but Florida, the mistakes. So many mistakes for the Gators. The offensive line, so many mistakes. They were shooting himself in the foot the whole time. Billy Napier obviously just didn't really have his guys ready. It was obvious that Mertz is not Richardson in the way that he could make something happen of nothing. They could have gone in there and gotten an upset. They really could have, especially, you got Utah's starting quarterback out. The opposing team's starting quarterback is out, and they're playing redshirt freshmen at quarterback a lot of the times. You can't take advantage of that, and you put up a lowly 11 points, and that 8 points was just that 8 points was just a mercy touchdown. It was just a mercy touchdown in the end. So as far as I'm concerned, that was a pathetic offensive performance from Florida and Billy Napier. I don't know. If I'm a Florida fan, I'm kind of upset. We can go look at Florida's, what they got up next. They got McNeese next. Okay, give them an easy game there. But then they got Tennessee. So you got to get right back into it. Then Charlotte, they go hard, kind of a difficult game, hard game. They also have to play LSU, and they also have to play Florida State. So it's not looking too good for Florida. Billy Napier could definitely be on the hot seat this season. It'll be interesting to see how they do divisions for when Oklahoma and Texas move in. Maybe they shift some people over. Like, do you want to shift Alabama and Auburn over to the East? That's all of a sudden you got a really loaded East. Honestly, the divisions don't really make much sense because you got Missouri in the SEC East. They seem to be adding more and more Western teams. I mean, can't really criticize them too much when you got the Big 12 going all over the place, the Big 10 going all over the place. Let's move. I want to move on. I want to move on to some huge news that we literally just recently got, and that is that the ACC is adding Stanford, Cal, and I believe SMU. It's probably safe to say they're going to accept it. But now the ACC is not Atlantic Coastal Conference, it's all Coastal Conference with a little bit of SMU in there from Texas. Why not? At this point, you gotta have a Texas school in your conference. What are you doing if you don't have a Texas school in your conference? Come on now. So that was huge for Stanford and Cal to do that. And now Washington State and Oregon State are sitting there they're gonna have to go. They have to go to the Mountain West at this point. Man, if I'm like Washington and Oregon in those last rival games, I better watch the hell out. I better watch out in that last rival game because they're gonna be fired up. They're gonna be upset. Oh no, we gotta go to the Mountain West because of you, because of you guys. I mean, honestly, it's mainly because of, I think, the first domino, which was USC and UCLA. But here we are. I've gone into it expansively. Oh, and let's get into these two. Here's some notable games courtesy of ESPN. We got some pretty big ones. Monday night is going to be Clemson and Duke. We'll see if Clemson is truly back. Are they back? It's Clemson back. They got Cabe Klubnik down there at quarterback. He's officially the quarterback, and DJ Uiagalelei has moved on to Oregon State. Clemson can get this thing back in a pretty tough ACC with Florida State, who's actually coming in for probably first time in a while ranked higher than Clemson preseason. LSU and Florida State is going to be the huge Sunday night game. I'm very excited for that one. But just Alabama and Georgia, you guys playing FCS schools week 1 is real pathetic. It's real pathetic, I think. You got your fellow conference guys, LSU and Florida, or LSU and Florida going out playing huge games, and you're sitting playing cupcake games. And they're probably going to end up winning the conference. No. I think they should have gone out and played someone else. Like, I'm sure, honestly, no matter what, it's usually that team gets beat up because Nick Saban and Kirby Smart usually have their guys ready week 1 from the first kickoff. But you really want to have your guys ready for FCS opponent, if it were like NCAA 14, it'd be FCS Midwest. So here we go. We got this playoff predictor. so you can kind of see what the likelihood of a team would be to make the playoff. And first off, I'm glad that we're going to a 12-team playoff because you only have 14 teams with a 7% chance or higher to make the playoff. Obviously you got your Cincinnatis that have made it, but it's usually these top teams right here. I'm kind of surprised that Michigan's only at 21%, but we can go through. Ohio State's at a big 70%. And these guys, their schedules. I'm surprised that Georgia is at 50%. I think it's because they got a lot of new guys, but they got a pretty easy schedule. Clemson's at 25%. That's interesting. We just got a thing here from Bleacher Report. It says OSU and Washington State committed to the Pac-12. They want to rebuild the league and steal some Mountain West schools. Okay. Well, you're just joining the Mountain West then, guys. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're just going to have to go into the Mountain West, Oregon State and Washington State. I'm sorry it had to turn out like this, but it's just the Mountain West if they try to steal away. We're committed to the Pac-12. Really? The Pac-12 let you guys down. They really let you guys down, so you should not be committed to them. I mean, obviously, I guess it'd be kind of technically a better brand than the Mountain West, but at this point, I feel like the Pac-12 is kind of a real tarnished brand. Why don't you go to the Mountain West and build something there with the Mountain West? That, honestly, to me, sounds smarter, although maybe they would hope by retooling the Pac-12 that it would still be a Power 5 conference, and if they went to the Mountain West, it'd still be considered a non-Power 5, so I don't know. It's just kind of, that's tough for them, but thank you guys all for watching and listening. Make sure to follow my Twitter. I don't normally plug this, but or X or whatever it's called, but I do post like my reactions and kind of updates to the games I'm watching over the weekend. So get that for more if you want to, see more of my content and stuff like that, because I'm the busyness for me, like personal life and stuff like that, it's definitely ramping up. So I'll try to get out these podcasts every week, and I'll try to maybe do another podcast this weekend as a reaction to all the games. Thank you guys for all watching and listening. Peace.